Yeah.
Yes.
Ready?
Ready?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to relate to the Board of Commissioners issue that I had shared previously with Vicki yesterday morning, but I thought it was serious enough that I want to bring it to the attention of the entire board. This past Tuesday, I went to the building department. My goal was to look at a application for a building permit to verify the square footage. Freedom Township has a zoning resolution that limits the size of an accessory building based on the square footage of the principal building. I wasn't quite sure of what that square footage was. So I made a point to go to the building department. I happened to be in the building for other business. And I went to the building department, very helpful young lady behind the counter. This was a new construction that they don't have a mailbox, so I wasn't able to verify the address. And of course, everything is filed by addresses at the building department, as it should be. But the neighboring address is in the same ownership as this new home. So the lady was very helpful, went through the system, and we identified that parcel. When I asked to see the building permit application, the lady automatically reached down to the counter and pulled up a form. I looked at it, I said, "What's this?" She said, "You have to fill this out." And it was a public records request form. I says, "No, I don't have to fill out anything." And she said, "Oh yeah," she said, we you know. And she referred to a lady that was standing behind her. I only know her first name is Linda. And Linda says, "Oh yeah, that's a requirement." And I said, "By whom? Whose directive?" And they replied, "The county commissioners." So I came up to the 7th floor, and I happened to be Todd Bragg was behind the counter. I told him what had transpired. He tried calling the building department. There was no answer. So when the ladies behind the counter gave him another phone number, he tried that. And I says, "Guess what, they're not answering, right?" He said, "Yes." So he had me accompany himself down to the building department, and he explained to the ladies behind the counter that I had a right to see the application. What disturbs me is this is a public department, the building department. And this is not the director's first term as director. Who sets the tone? Who tells them? Because this was an automatic reaction, pull up with this form. And the law is specific. This law has been in effect for a couple of decades. It wasn't just created. It says they may ask the requester's identity, may inquire about the intended use of the information requested, but may do so only after disclosing to the requester that a written request is not mandatory. So nobody said you don't have to fill this out, but if you do, automatically pulled out this form, told me I had to fill it out. How can this be? How, you know? And was this the directive of the commissioners? Was the building department told to do this?
I spoke to Randy. I called Randy. We were at Nevco when John told me this. And I called Randy right away, and he said he knew of the incident, and he was calling Chris Maduri, and it would be handled. But as far as I know, we've never told him to do that. Maybe he's thinking he's going to the ORC. I don't know.
No, I talked to Randy last night, and he said even on the top of the form it says that unless you're requesting copies, it's not required that you fill that out. I mean, the staff can still put that
Maybe
someone
they
came in.
didn't know that.
Yeah,
They may
and
not have
it's a
understood.
it's more of a training issue, not that they,
How many other citizens were confronted with that same situation?
that I could not say, but I know it's being addressed, and, you know, that he definitely was gonna address it with the staff and let them know in the future.
And Vicki did say, you know, subsequent to her conversation with Randy, they was checking with the prosecutor's office. It's black and white. You don't need a legal opinion to abide by the law.
Yeah.
I'd like an apology, and I would like some assurance that this isn't gonna happen again. Like I say, how long has this been going on?
Yeah.
I think it's a good reminder to us to check in with all of our departments and make
Yeah.
sure they're not requiring, or putting burdens up in front of people and their right to know, their right to transparency.
Mhm.
And I'm glad you brought the concern to us, and I apologize, that shouldn't happen,
Yeah.
I'm a lawyer. I respect our public record laws very much, and
Yeah,
that shouldn't
it's-
have happened, and I'm glad you told us about it.
It's clear if you're gonna, offer an obstruction there, where the person has to be told ahead of time,
Yeah.
before you pull that form out from under the counter, that's optional, that, you have they have to tell you that you don't have to fill out any paperwork.
Right.
You don't have to identify yourself, you don't have to state the purpose. Public Law Records Law 143 is very clear on this.
Right.
Okay,
I apologize, John.
Thank you,
Well, we
ladies.
apologize.
have a
and
good
we'll get it
rest of the
addressed.
day.
All right, thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. Sheila?
So as you know, this is my first meeting, so I apologize if I don't do the questions or answers right or whatever, but,
You're fine.
okay. So I was curious, because you read in the paper about the recycle and solid waste and whatever, and so if you could clarify for me, even listening to Mr. Steiner, who's come to our village a few times to try and get curbside, and so this new attempt for more countywide, I'm not understanding it, between the newspaper and what kind of went on here. I felt like it was more people could opt out, and so I didn't read that in the paper that way. So, for instance, I know a lot of the townships don't like it. I know for Wyndham, the majority don't like it, but yet I heard Brimfield Township has something maybe going with them. So, how will it affect, let's say, Wyndham, if we say, we don't want curbside, we don't want you to $3 a month, we don't want you saying next year that we can't give you this, and the rate go up too. So,
Do you have drop off now?
we have the drop off that we split with the township. I think it's $1,600 a year, and they pay $800, we pay $800 for both areas to drop off. And it's very well used. I mean, they pick up twice a week and it's full most of the time. So, but that's how people like it. And if you look at Wyndham on a map with our housing, and whether it's the housings or apartments, we are so congested with buildings. And so when this came up before, I showed our council, this is what it looks like on trash day. Just trash, kitchen trash day. And there are cans everywhere. And then you want to, especially the people in the apartments that still stand, to have another large can sitting outside because they don't fit in their apartments, sitting outside. So it's been kind of we're not laid out for all these cans. Some other areas are. There's more space between homes, and our new homes development, same thing. Yes, there are city lots, but they're very small city lots. So now you got all these cans right in the street, like next to each other basically. So anyway, that's been one of the hiccups. And I just want to make sure that we don't have to if we don't want to.
Yeah, and you know what, that's one of the things is that, if the communities, they can inquire with Bill if they want to switch to like curbside, but it also has to be economically feasible for us to do that. I mean, if the village says to Bill Steiner, we're happy with the drop-off containers, we don't want curbside, I'm sure you could still work with Mr. Steiner on that issue. I mean,
keep them?
it's like, it's my understanding, and I don't know if Kathleen or Vicki remembers, it's my understanding that he pretty much was gonna leave things status quo, but I know some communities have been asking for curbside, and again, we have one, actually, John Ziska, Freedom Township is looking to bring on bi-weekly to Freedom. But, I mean, as far as people that are like, doing what they're doing, as long as it's working for you and it works for recycling, I don't think there's gonna be a change. The only change that there would be is the cost of doing it, because right now we are supplementing very heavily the drop-off sites, and they're being supplemented by the the curbside pickups. I mean, I saw a list of what it truly cost us. It's unbelievable. I mean, I don't know if I still have it with me, but I had a chart here. Here's an example. You're in what, Wyndham?
Mhm.
Wyndham and Wyndham Township. You have 4 containers. So that's actually 2,400. You guys,
Oh, my, okay,
yeah.
why not then?
But the actual cost for that is about $15,980 for the county. And because the cost of recycling is going down, as you said, people are very good at recycling. It's actually creating even a bigger deficit for
Oh,
us.
the cost is going up.
Yeah, yes.
Right,
A bigger
right,
deficit
right.
though for,
Mhm.
to be supplemented by others.
Right.
So we're trying to bring this all onto a level and equitable playing field. So that's where the proposal had, where we would impose a fee for the parcels, the improved parcels in each of the communities that, because like I said, we are majorly supplementing those, and we're just at a point that we can no longer supplement.
So what if the township or the village above didn't want the recycling at all?
Well,
That's not, I mean.
we're required, I mean, and that's something, I mean, people think it's the commissioners enforcing this. It's really coming a directive from the EPA and the state pushing it down on us. I mean, we don't have an option to say, you can't recycle. We have to have some form of recycling.
Right, and I know Wyndham and has to provide something, right? I think that's
Yeah.
correct. So, I get it, but the curbside for our little 2 square mile area it's insane to have all those cans all over the place every,
Yeah.
week, twice a week, whatever. I mean, visually, aesthetically, even, cleanliness,
has-
it's just like, it's
Sheila,
too
has Mr.
much.
Steiner been to your meetings wanting curbside?
Yeah, a couple times.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And of course, I mean, China's not taking our recycle, there's so many reasons why it's going up, and then all of a sudden you don't take glass, and then you don't take this, and then, but the rate keeps going up. I'm sure you've heard it before, the
Yeah.
complaints. So that's my concern for Wyndham, and I just wanted to make sure that, it wasn't forced yet, or if it would be.
The curbside is not going to be forced, but the price of the drop-off
Okay.
may come.
Well, and that is paid for by the village and the township, somehow through their general fund or whatever.
For the
that-
taxpayers.
Right,
They
so-
have their revenue from.
Right, so, but still, per person is so much better than.
And the thing is, and I have my stepdad works in Rumpke, and he's a salesperson, and he says, recycling, it's gonna be on about a 3 to 5 year lull, but he said it ebbs and peaks. I mean, recycling will come back, it's just right now, we've done such a great job, there's no true value in it, we've almost over-recycled, if there's such a thing. But, and he said, and whether people realize it or not, a lot of that recycling is going into the landfill anyway, so, unfortunately.
Yeah, I followed this for a while, and I'm just curious about it for our town. I mean, I get it, like I said, when the communities are spread out more, this is different, so. And then the other thing was the regional planning, if I could switch.
Yeah.
And the grant writers, so it's going really fast here, and I get nervous when someone comes in and talks fast and wants dates now and everything, so I wanted to make sure I understood where the communities stand with the grant writer, because you had your departments here gonna contribute nicely and get some grant writing help, but regional planning is for communities and citizens more so than, like, it would trickle down from those other departments, obviously, to communities. But I thought regional planning was more, that was direct, and so how much, for instance, he mentioned Wyndham, we need grants, we need all those things that we can get, certainly as much or more as anyone else, but how much of that grant writer's time, because I didn't really hear it mentioned, because there were portions going out in different contributions, so his fund, is that what would pay for, say, Wyndham and other communities' grant writing time?
Well, that's one of the reasons he wanted it, was because of not only Wyndham, but there were other folks that had joined because of the grant writer, now they
Right.
don't have one.
And he's saying whose contribution to it, which is paid by dues from like Wyndham and all the
Right.
communities, would contribute to the grant writer's time for those communities,
So he
if that
has
makes
them
sense.
now, right? Is that what I heard you
No,
say?
he does not.
He
He
does
had
not.
one and then there wasn't funding for it, so
Okay.
he lost it.
Okay. So how much of that grant writer's time would go toward the communities directly? Is it to be decided
You know,
once you get the numbers right?
and I understand that
Okay.
for the enterprise, we have to bill or show so many hours, but I don't honestly, knowing how to write grants, how you can really nail it down to 2 days a week I'm gonna be here, because you know how grants are, or
Right.
you got 2 grants
Right.
that come due at the same time, which one's gonna take priority, you know? The one that pays the 25,000 or the one that I mean, I think in some ways, I mean, in theory, it sounds good, but I don't know. Well, and like I said,
That's
it's a
what I thought
pilot
too.
program for
In
us.
theory, sounds great.
We're just gonna try it and see how it goes, and if it doesn't work, then we'll try to figure out a plan B.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sheila.
Sabrina, isn't it true, or my understanding, that for the EPA to approve the county recycling plant, only 90% of the villages and townships have to agree, correct?
That's correct.
I was understanding you say something different, I evidently misunderstood.
No, it's 90%.
Thank you.
I'll move to adjourn.
I will second.
Roll call in.
Yes.
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 Just so you know, Barb,
Yes.
they still have the option that they can go with a different provider.
Yeah.
They're just part of that plan. They can still be part of our plan, still help us ratify,
If they want to go.
but they could, if they wanted.
Or they could go
Yeah.
without.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.